Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 4 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that will make you question family forever. Story 1. My pregnant wife won't stop having morning sickness. In our shared home. So my roommate just called me inconsiderate for getting pregnant in my own house. Yeah, you heard that right. Let me break this down for you because honestly, I'm still processing this whole situation. My husband and I are both 24, we've owned our home for nearly 4 years now, and about 2 years ago our friend moved in with us as a paying roommate. Everything was going great until recently. See, my husband and I have been together since we were 16, got married 8 months ago, and we've been wanting kids for forever. We finally started trying 2 months ago, but we kept it private because honestly, who wants to hear about that, right? Well, 2 weeks ago I found out I'm pregnant and we were over the moon. But here's where things get messy. I've been dealing with pretty severe morning sickness, and apparently that's been bothering our roommate. She started making these little comments about how I'm always in the bathroom, how the smell of certain foods I can't handle anymore is inconvenient for her cooking plans, stuff like that. I tried to be understanding, you know. I get that living with someone who's constantly nauseous isn't ideal. But then yesterday happened. I was having a particularly rough morning, couldn't keep anything down, and I guess I was in the main bathroom longer than usual. When I came out, she was standing there with her arms crossed, and she just went off on me. She said I was being inconsiderate, that this is affecting her daily routine, and that maybe I should have thought about how my pregnancy would impact everyone in the house before getting pregnant. I was honestly shocked. This is my house, my pregnancy, and she's acting like I'm doing this to spite her. So I looked her dead in the eye and said if she didn't like something about how we live in our own home, she could leave. The silence that followed was deafening. She stormed off to her room, and now she's telling mutual friends that I'm being unreasonable and kicking her out over nothing. But here's the thing, I'm not kicking her out over nothing. I'm setting boundaries about what kind of treatment I'll accept in my own home while I'm carrying my first child. My husband completely supports me, but some of our friends are saying I was too harsh, that I should have been more diplomatic. But honestly, when someone attacks you for having morning sickness in your own bathroom, diplomacy feels pretty pointless. The whole situation has me wondering about the nature of these living arrangements and what people think they're entitled to when they're paying rent in someone else's home. Should I have handled this differently, or was I right to put my foot down? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My 17-year-old niece claims she owns my dead mother's name. So my sister just told me I can't name my baby after our dead mother because my 17-year-old niece called dibs. I wish I was making this up, but here we are. I'm 32 and currently pregnant, and this whole situation is honestly breaking my heart all over again. My mom passed away almost 3 years ago, and it's been devastating. She was everything to me, and when my fiancé and I started planning for this baby, we knew we wanted to honor both our mothers with the name we chose. We came up with something beautiful that incorporates my biological mother's name and his mother's name. I was so excited and proud of what we'd created, this perfect tribute to the women who shaped us. So naturally, I shared it with my sister, thinking she'd be touched by the gesture. Boy, was I wrong. Instead of the emotional moment I was expecting, she immediately shut me down. She told me I absolutely cannot use our mother's name because her daughter, my niece who's 17 and not even pregnant, wants that name for her future daughter someday. Let me repeat that, my niece, who isn't pregnant, who might not even have kids, who's still in high school, apparently has more claim to our mother's name than I do. The whole conversation was surreal. My sister was completely serious, acting like this was some kind of legal matter that had already been decided. She kept saying things like, she called it first, and, you need to respect her wishes as if we were talking about the last slice of pizza, not honoring our deceased mother. I tried to reason with her, explaining that this name means everything to me, that I'm actually pregnant right now, that this is my chance to keep mom's memory alive through my child. But she wouldn't budge. She kept insisting that since my niece mentioned wanting to use the name at some family gathering months ago, she has priority. The situation got even more ridiculous when I made a social media post announcing both the boy's name and the girl's name we'd chosen. My sister and niece both commented publicly, telling everyone I was being selfish and stealing the name. They started this whole family drama online, with relatives taking sides and acting like I was committing some unforgivable sin. The thing that really gets me is that my niece might never even have children, or she might change her mind about names, or she might have all boys. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here pregnant right now, wanting to honor the mother I loved and lost, and I'm being told I can't because a teenager made some casual comment about her hypothetical future baby. It's made me realize how complicated family dynamics can get around grief and memory. Everyone processes loss differently, but does that give them the right to control how others honor the deceased? Should the fact that she's younger and mentioned it first really matter more than my current pregnancy and desire to memorialize our mother? Story 3. I made my presentation so technical my boss looked like an idiot. So I just intentionally sabotaged my boss in front of the entire executive team, and honestly, I'm not sure if I should feel guilty or proud. I'm a new grad engineer from a pretty well-known university, and I started my first job recently. The pay was good, the project sounded interesting, so I thought I'd landed in a great spot. But after a few weeks, I started noticing something weird. Progress on everything felt incredibly slow for no real reason, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized the problem was my boss. We have these weekly meetings where I present technical updates, and my boss always jumps in to clarify things for the team. Except his clarifications are usually completely wrong. Like, not even close to correct. He'll confidently explain concepts he clearly doesn't understand, and I have to sit there watching him butcher basic engineering principles while everyone nods along. At first, I thought maybe I was misunderstanding something, maybe there was some bigger picture I wasn't seeing. But no, the guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. He's one of those managers who got promoted beyond his technical competence and now fakes his way through meetings with buzzwords and confident hand-waving. The breaking point came last week when he completely misrepresented my work to a client, promising deliverables that were physically impossible based on what I'd actually designed. When I tried to correct him privately, he brushed me off and told me I needed to be more flexible and think outside the box. That's when I decided to get creative. This week's presentation was my moment. Instead of my usual simplified overview, I made it extremely technical. I'm talking deep mathematical proofs, advanced theoretical concepts, the kind of stuff that requires serious engineering background to follow. I knew exactly what I was doing. The presentation started normally, with me diving into complex equations and theoretical frameworks. I could see my boss getting more and more uncomfortable as I went on, but he couldn't stop me without admitting he didn't understand his own employees' work. Then came the questions. The executive team started asking detailed technical questions, and my boss tried to jump in with his usual confident nonsense. Except this time, his lack of knowledge was painfully obvious. He stumbled through explanations that made no sense, used terms incorrectly, and basically exposed himself as technically incompetent in front of everyone who matters. I just stood there, maintaining perfect professional composure while watching him dig his own grave. The room got awkwardly quiet as it became clear he had no idea what he was talking about. By the end, the executives were directing all their questions to me and essentially ignoring him. The aftermath has been interesting. My boss hasn't said anything directly, but I can tell he knows what happened. The executives have started reaching out to me directly for updates, bypassing him entirely. Part of me feels like this was justified, that incompetent managers shouldn't be able to hide behind their employees' work. But another part wonders if I just made a career-limiting move by embarrassing someone with power over me. Was this brilliant strategic thinking or professional suicide? Story 4. I banned my entire family from my home over my deaf stepdaughter. So I just uninvited most of my family from Easter because they refused to learn basic sign language for my deaf stepdaughter, and now they're calling me extreme. Let me tell you why I think they're wrong. My stepdaughter Carly is deaf, and a few weeks before Easter, she said something that absolutely broke my heart. She told us she hates family gatherings because of how many people just completely leave her out of conversations. She said she only really started noticing it when she got older and wasn't running around with the other kids as much, but now it's impossible to ignore. Picture this, you're sitting at a family dinner and everyone around you is laughing, talking, sharing stories, and you have no idea what's happening. You're physically present but completely isolated from your own family. That's been Carly's experience at every single gathering for years. So my spouse and I made a decision. Moving forward, for any events we host at our home, we're only inviting people who have bothered to learn some basic sign language or at least make an effort to communicate with Carly properly. We're not asking for fluency here, we're talking about learning simple signs, maybe finger spelling, or even just writing things down when needed. The bare minimum effort to include a family member in conversations. When we announced this new policy, you'd have thought we asked people to donate organs. The pushback was immediate and intense. Family members started calling us unreasonable, saying we can't expect everyone to learn a whole new language just for one person. They acted like we were asking them to become professional interpreters when really we just wanted them to try. My mother-in-law was particularly upset, saying we're being divisive and breaking up the family over something trivial. Trivial. That's what she called my daughter's ability to communicate with her own relatives. Other family members chimed in with similar complaints about how we're being too demanding, how not everyone has time to learn sign language, how Carly should just adapt to how things have always been done. But here's what really gets me, these same people will spend hours learning the rules to new board games, figuring out social media platforms, or picking up hobbies that interest them. But learning a few signs so their family member can participate in conversations? Apparently that's too much to ask. The result is that our Easter gathering went from about 20 people down to 6. Just the people who actually made an effort to learn some signs and communicate with Carly. And you know what? It was the best family gathering we've had in years. Carly was engaged, laughing, participating in conversations, actually enjoying herself instead of sitting there isolated and forgotten. She told us afterward it was the first family event where she felt truly included, where she didn't feel like a burden or an afterthought. That confirmed for me that we made the right choice. But the excluded family members are not letting this go. They're organizing their own gatherings without us, talking about how we've become difficult and unreasonable, painting us as the villains who tore the family apart. Some are saying we're using Carly's deafness as a weapon to control family dynamics. The whole situation has me questioning whether accommodation should be a requirement or a request when it comes to family. Is it fair to set communication standards for people who want to be part of our home gatherings, or should we just accept that some people will never make the effort and Carly will continue to be excluded? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.